The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as before I've said, it's always an honour to be able to speak in this House as a representative of Lambton, Kent, Middlesex, and particularly today, Mr. Speaker, as we speak in support of Bill C-13, the Protection Canadians from Online Crime Act, which addresses, has been heard today by all speakers, the serious criminal behavior associated with cyberbullying. This is an issue that affects Canadians across this country, whether it's small communities like mine, large cities, remote areas, or urban areas. It's an issue of grave concern, Mr. Speaker, to all of us. For Barb and I, who are parents and grandparents, as aunts and uncles, as parliamentarians, and as Canadians, we take this for what the Act talks about. We've all heard of the tragic results of cyberbullying. My colleague spoke and mentioned a number of those individuals that have been captured and caught in this cyberbullying effects. Stories of children so distraught that they take their own lives because they can no longer handle the barrage of taunts and threats and humiliation that are absolutely heartbreaking to them and to everyone around them. Mr. Speaker, we have the opportunity to take decisive action now and try to prevent, as much as we can, future tragedies. The legislation before us is one which will move us ahead with reforms to our laws to deter the effects and the types of destructive behavior. Certainly having stronger penalties in place will act as a strong deterrent to those who would post intimate pictures of someone online without their consent. But it is also critical, and today we've heard a lot about that, but today it is critical that every possible step to prevent bullying in all forms should be taken. In my time today, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about our government and specifically Public Safety Canada. It's prepared to establish through a number of preventative education and awareness activities. As the lead federal department on the issue of cyberbullying, Public Canada, Safety Canada, should say, is tackling this form of intimidation. This includes supporting programs that work to change behaviors among young people to prevent bullying of all types, whether it's online or in person. For example, our government is currently supporting the development of a number of school-based projects to prevent bullying as part of the $10 million that was committed in 2012 towards new crime prevention projects to address this and other priority issues, preventing violence among at-risk youth and offending among urban Aboriginal youth. Education and awareness are also critical to addressing this harmful and extreme behavior. And yes, Mr. Speaker, we are working on a number of initiatives to encourage youth. We need the youth themselves to speak and to let adults know what is happening. Our government supports the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, which operates cybertip.ca, an initiative that started in 2002, and then also needhelpnow.ca. These are websites, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians can use to report online sexual exploitation of children, to seek help for exploiting resulting from the sharing of sexual images. In addition, the RCMP, Centre for Youth Crime Prevention, offers resources such as fact sheets, lesson plans, interactive learning tools to youth, parents, police officers, educators on issues such as bullying and also cyberbullying. We also talk about cyberbullying during Cyber Security Awareness Month, and Mr. Speaker, as we all know, that takes place for 1 month long in October. So the focus of Public Safety Canada Get Cyber Safe campaign is to educate Canadians of all ages on the simple steps they can take to protect themselves from people who want to do harm to them, online or things like identity, theft, fraud, and computer viruses. And part of helping our young people stay safe online includes making. Mr. Speaker, we've got to make them aware of the dangers of cyberbullying and what they can do to help to stop it. As part of our efforts in regards to public safety, Canada, it launched a national public awareness safety campaign called Stop Hating Online. And that was initiated just this past January of 2014. So what does that do? Well, it does a number of things, sir. It provides information to youth and their parents about the potential serious legal consequences around cyberbullying and or the distribution of intimate images without consent. It also informs Canadian adults that they have a role to play in this prevention and reporting of cyberbullying. And also, it's to raise awareness among young Canadians regarding the types of behaviors that constitute cyberbullying and the impacts of that on our people. We want to help them to understand, Mr. Speaker, that they can be more than a bystander, that they can give information on how and when they can stand up to cyberbullying. Mr. Speaker, we want to make sure that we go beyond that, and we want to make sure that in order to reach as many people as possible, we want to make sure we cover both adults and the youth. Our government wants to work, yes, closely with the private sector and other government partners to deliver the campaign used in a wide variety of media, awareness activities, but also with a particular focus on using social media to spread the word and encourage Canadians. I hope the members of the House were able to see some of the ads that were played on TV, particularly across national TV networks between January and March. And Mr. Speaker, the idea was aimed at parents and aimed at youth, and later being a little more edgy and dynamic to capture the attention of our captive or our techie-savvy youth. Both ads illustrated how easy it is, just how easy it is for kids to share intimate images of each other through their mobile phones and social media, often without much thought. And both end with a clear, serious message that sharing intimate messages and images without consent is not just wrong, Mr. Speaker, it's also illegal. Something we're working towards with legislation before us. Well, because the younger generation is not necessarily watching the evening news, and I think all of us in here get that. So the same ads were played online and also at movie theaters. The ads drove people to the comprehensive website called Stop Hating Online, which provides concrete tools and tips for youth, parents, educators, and all those concerned with cyberbullying. The campaign uses as much of social media like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter to reach out to youth. This is where we are seeing, quite honestly, a significant engagement and positive feedback from youth and parents who are embracing this campaign and telling us clearly that they are not going to accept this destructive behavior, not only for themselves, but also for their families and also for their friends. In fact, Facebook told us in Canada that reported the interest and engagement is much higher than average for the Stop Hating Online initiatives. They've also had over 1 million views of the youth-oriented ad on YouTube since its launch. Facebook accounts for more than 60,000 times its usual hits. So, Mr. Speaker, what we're saying is that when you reach out across all media and all types of contacts, it is starting to get home. But I think really the honesty of it, Mr. Speaker, is that as we watch, and we've watched the television news and we've listened to reports of those that have been caught in this, is that they just need to understand the severity of it. And so I think my time has is wrapping up, and so I just ask that, obviously for obvious reasons, Mr. Speaker, that as a proud parent, grandparent, that we would ask the members of this House to support Bill C-13. Thank you very much.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Sherbrooke.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, et merci pour me donner l'opportunité de poser une question à mon collègue conservateur concernant le projet de loi C-13, parce que je voulais lui demander une question bien précise sur la raison pour laquelle ils ont décidé d'inclure beaucoup de choses qui n'étaient pas nécessairement reliées avec la cyberintimidation. On met un beau titre de projet de loi, effectivement, qui s'attaque à la cyberintimidation, et ça, on en est heureux, et on va appuyer d'ailleurs le projet de loi en deuxième lecture. Mais pourquoi y avoir aussi intégré d'autres choses qui n'avaient aucun lien? Par exemple, l'inclusion dans cette loi d'une peine de 2 ans pour le vol de câbles de télévision. Est-ce que mon collègue peut m'indiquer le lien précis ici dans le projet de loi par rapport à la cyberintimidation? Et pourquoi, comme dans plusieurs autres cas, ils ont décidé d'y inclure aussi beaucoup d'autres mesures qui n'étaient pas nécessairement reliées avec le but initial du projet de loi?
The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague across the way for his question. One of the things Bill C-13 is significant, as I mentioned, that in our justice bills, and particularly again in this one here, there's got to be a significant deterrent for those people that commit cyberbullying or bullying of any kind, quite honestly. We tend to think of cyberbullying, but actually just the personal person bullying, and we've heard examples of that in here, not only today, but from time to time. We believe on this side particularly that there's also got to be significant consequences for those that do those acts. They have serious consequences to those that are being bullied. And so, but also part of it, as I mentioned, and actually in mine I spent likely more time talking about some of the preventative and some of the assistance in terms of education and prevention as I did about some of the penalties, but it has to work hand in hand. We need to have consequences and penalties, and we also need to make sure that we spend our time and resources in making the prevention as big an issue as we can. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to continue on the same line of questioning in terms of, listening to the member speak on the issue of cyberbullying. I was actually pleased with many of his comments, but it seems to me that the government wants to come across talking a great deal about cyberbullying, yet if you take a look at the legislation itself, it does deal with more issues than just cyberbullying. It was cited in terms of the cable theft as an example. And the question I have for the member is that if the government was truly wanting to be fixated on the issue of cyberbullying and allowing for the debate and the focus of public attention on that issue, why would you not just have the bill deal specifically with cyberbullying?
The honourable member for Lambton, Kent, Middlesex.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my colleague also from across the way, as we know, is very active on a daily basis in terms of the debate, and I think that's great because he raises a number of great issues, as is this one. But I think as also when we talk about cyberbullying and we talk about the internet, and if you have fraud that is taken and you lose your identity and you lose your correspondence that connects you to the people that you only want to have, somebody gets that, and they use it in not maybe only an immoral but in an illegal way, it needs to be part of what we talk about in cyberbullying. It needs to be part about what we talk about in C-13. And so, Mr. Speaker, I think it's good that we have that question. I'm pleased with it because we want to make sure that we cover the basis as wide as we can to make sure, and it'll go to committee. And at committee, we will have another opportunity for input by witnesses to have that discussion about if there are weaknesses or if there are concerns, then they can be brought up and looked at committee also. Thank you very much.